I think Kamala was winning in maybe the first 15 minutes or so, and I think Trump on the economy, the first question on the economy, Trump really should have the advantage. Like on all the polls, he's ranked higher on economy. However, I think he kind of botched that question. He just kind of got into some strange speech. He didn't really bring up. He could have brung up fracking during that time, I think. And I don't know that was the most compelling answer. I thought Kamala looked in control during that question. I thought as it kept going on, I believe abortion was the third, no, probably the second question. Probably by the time both the third question happened, I thought it started to flip. Kind of around the time when Trump said, I'm speaking, he kind of put that Kamala's famous line back on her. I think from then on, Trump's actually done pretty good. I think on the issues of foreign policy, he had pretty good answers, saying that like even if he just gets up there and says that these things would have never happened, like the Israel-Palestine, Ukraine-Russia conflicts, I think Trump just saying that in front of the audience, all the independent voters, it's a strong line. Whether it's true or not, obviously no one will know for sure, but I think that's a strong line from Donald Trump. Oh man, it's actually, I think it's pretty, I think I'd probably put it at 50-50 right now. I think Kamala for the first 25 minutes was winning, but I think she's done a little bit worse in the last half there. A couple of Kamala's answers, I almost, like compared to Trump, she's definitely not that exciting. I thought she was the first few answers. They were pretty captivating, strong points, but then the last couple a little less. I think it's a mistake for her to bring up Project 2025. I think it's a mistake to bring up Charlottesville. Charlottesville is so easily like debunkable, if that's even a word. Trump said there are fine people on both sides, and then the next sentence he said disavow, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm disavowing the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis. He literally said that. They just clipped the first part. So many Americans, by the way, only ever heard that first clip. Then the second part came out, and I think that's a perfect example of how powerful X is. Just having X now is unbelievable for that, because that little context, it gets shared on X now, gets amplified very easily when something like that happens, and a bunch of Americans are sold this false line. So I think it's a mistake, but I think it's been close. And one other point I would say is that the moderators, they shouldn't look so biased. They're still doing, I would say, like, in terms of how biased, I'd put it at maybe a 7 out of 10. But there's been a few times where they've tried to drill down Trump with follow-up questions. I believe that guy's name is David Muir, asking a bunch of follow-up questions. They haven't done that to Kamala as much. Like, there was those 2 questions in a row, back to back, and they were really just about Trump being negative. They weren't really, those questions really have nothing to do with Kamala, but the one question was on Trump accepting the results of the 2020 election, and then the one right before that was on January 6th. Like, those questions are just pretty much a 10-minute time frame to bring up things that are negative for Trump, which it's fine to bring that up. It's just the follow-ups on that. I don't know this debate. I would say ABC has been pretty biased so far, actually, especially if you compare it to the CNN debate, where pretty, like, I mean, you could argue when Dana Bash is pointing at Joe Biden and stuff like that, it's a little biased, but I think CNN was pretty fair. Compared to that, ABC has been pretty biased. Like there's been times in this debate, like, I think that's actually where Trump got the momentum back. There was a time it looked like a 3-on-1, and he's debating against this dude on camera here, this David Muir. That almost gave Trump the momentum back. Trump is very good in that situation where he's kind of cornered by a reporter. He's very good at flipping it on them. If you just let him, like, it was going better for Kamala when it was just, let's hear Kamala talk for 2 minutes and then Trump talk for 2 minutes. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, long story short, in my opinion,
Muir and Lindsay Davis,
I'd put it at a tie right now.
Historic ABC News presidential debate. This ABC News presidential
That was
debate
weak by
from
Trump
Philadelphia.
there.
Back in a moment.
He didn't even climate change, whatever. He should have just said, we want clean air, clean water, and by the way, Bobby Kennedy, a famous environmental lawyer, just endorsed me. Like, that was a perfect example to bring up Bobby Kennedy, who I believe that endorsement's a huge deal, actually, for Donald Trump. But so I think that was a weak answer. Climate change, I think Kamala Harris is making a slight mistake claiming that young people care deeply about it when housing prices have gone way up. I think the amount of attention or the amount of priority that young people put on climate change has dramatically fallen in recent years because the world just becomes so unaffordable that how do you care about climate change as like a top 3 issue even if you can't afford a house, you can't afford a down payment on a house, you're just completely behind in life. I don't know. But anyway, Donald Trump should have brought up in that moment about how, like, he just should have said, I want clean water, clean air, and how Bobby Kennedy, the famous Bobby Kennedy, just endorsed him, environmental lawyer, famous Kennedy. Yeah, that was, I don't know. So anyway, and then the other thing I would say is that, like, this is a poor performance by ABC. They're only fact checking on one side. They're getting Kamala's getting away with just saying whatever, pretty much, and absolutely no follow-ups. Like that question, have you met Putin? She just deflected to, oh, I've met Zelensky 5 times or whatever she said. I've negotiated with Zelensky 5 times. There's not, like, no pushback, and and by the way, I'm fine with that if you just do that on the other side, but they haven't been doing that. They've been pressing Donald Trump multiple times on a lot of these questions. So I don't know how you don't see that as biased if you're watching this. But another thing, that answer on Ukraine, Russia from Kamala, I think is so brutal. How we need to keep, and like, yes, you need an international order, but so many, that's like, can't be the justification. There should have been way more empathy and thought and just like words in that answer about the amount of people that have died in this conflict. It's unbelievable. It's so sad. I live in Canada. There's so many people you meet here from Ukraine that have had to flee their country. And I'm sure that'd be true in Western countries all over the world. The average soldier right now in the Ukraine army, I'm going to look it up. Like Trump, yeah, the average age of Ukrainian soldiers fighting Russia is 43 to 45. You've just like completely hollowed out that entire country. That is so fucking sad to curse, because it deserves, sadly, probably a curse word. It's so terrible. It deserves way more than that. Like, it's absolutely tragic, so heartbreaking. And these politicians get on there and they talk about, oh, we need to keep our alliances intact. Like, all these young people in Ukraine and Russia have died for that. You got to figure out a way to make a deal way quicker. Figure it out. Get it done. That answer is so inadequate in my opinion. Average age, again, of Ukrainian soldiers fighting Russia is 43 to 45. So many Russians as well have died. Young Russians, it's not just Ukrainians, fighting this war. For what? There's enough land in the world for all the people that live in it. What are you doing to fight to get, like, to advance your position in a ditch 5 miles one way or the other when the world is still massive? There's so much land that people could be living in. That, like, the world is not constrained in that way. For all these young people, because old silent generation and boomers can't get along, for them to go die in a ditch is so infuriating, so tragic.
Pennsylvania. Here again.
And
David
to be honest,
Muir
at least Trump
and
says
Lindsay
it. He just
Davis.
says people need to stop
Welcome
dying.
back tonight. The time
They
has
don't
come
even, the
for
other side
closing
goes, oh, we
statements,
need
and
to
Vice
blah,
President
blah, blah,
Harris,
it's
we begin
NATO.
with you.
All these global alliances.
So I think
Okay, I'm gonna just do like a 1 or 2 minute wrap up here, then I'll stop the stream. One thought I just had there. There was not one question about Kamala Harris's campaign policy. She tweeted out about the price controls. ABC should have asked that, but Donald Trump, I mean, if you're in a debate, you got to bring up all these things, fracking. You want to say like that she's weak on policing, weak on the border, whatever. He's still, in an ideal world, it would have been nice for Donald Trump to bring up, because that's such an easy win to just debunk or talk about at least why that is such a failing strategy that will not work. there'll be massive shortages. You ruin the market for that. So that would have been an easy win, I think, for Donald Trump to bring up. ABC should have brought up, because the ABC brought up a bunch of questions that were negative towards Donald Trump. Really, like a lot of those questions have really nothing to do with Kamala. She's just sitting there. She'll weigh in on it, like, Donald Trump, why did you say this about Kamala's race? Donald Trump, what is your position on January 6th? Like, Kamala's just sitting there getting layups. Why not ask one of these questions the other way? I don't believe there was one question that was just, Kamala, you did this negatively, comment on it. And then Donald Trump could comment on it. Like, a perfect example could have been that she said it like that, I think. Price gouging point. Yeah, and then, so anyway, but then I think my main takeaway, though, of the debate would be, I think ABC actually did a humongous disservice to Kamala Harris from being biased. I think Kamala, if ABC would have played this down the middle, there could have been a great chance for Kamala Harris to have won the debate in maybe 55%, 60% of people's eyes. We'll see what happens, moving forward with how this debate is perceived by the Americans and what polls come out after this. But I believe the conversation following this debate now could have been a slight Kamala win if the ABC would have played it more down the middle. However, I believe it'll be the Democrats saying Kamala did very well and the Republicans saying ABC was biased. Because I believe those are both things you could sell to people pretty plausibly. There's multiple moments of ABC, follow up on Trump. You could look for that on Kamala and you won't find it. Maybe you find it once. I believe it happened once. And for whatever the final tally is, it happened more to Donald Trump. There was more questions to Donald Trump that were negative. And he's not even the person who's an incumbent right now. Kamala is in the office. If you thought, like, according to ABC, the country is basically just firing on all cylinders. If you just look at those questions they chose to ask as a sample size. So I believe the moderators did her a disservice. It'll be sold now as the Kamala people will say she did so great, and the Trump people will say ABC just ganged up on Trump. There's a few moments there where they'll be clipped. Donald Trump's debating all three of the people. That does not look very good. And you won't find that for Kamala. And then there's those funny moments of Trump saying, I'm speaking, or whatever he said. Does that sound familiar? So yeah, that's my takeaways. Kamala did pretty good. ABC was biased. Trump did not great, I would say. He did okay. I don't even know whether I would, not to cop out. I'm going to give an answer. I'm going to say slight Trump win, to be honest. And just because once he brought up that little point about the momentum, or about the I'm speaking part, I think he had momentum in the middle of the debate. I would say Trump like a 51% win. And it's just tough. Kamala had some poor answers in the middle. She had a strong close and a strong beginning, I think. But it's tough. I would probably just give it to Trump just based on the moderators. It's just going to look like that because they were biased. Trump had those moments where he was kind of debating everybody. I would say slight win for him on that. But I don't think that was his best performance. But not to totally cop out, I will say Trump's slight win. And just because I think in the middle he had lots of momentum. He had a few great answers in a row in the middle. And he had those moments where it looked like ABC was biased. But anyway, I've said that multiple times. So anyway, with that said, thank you for watching the stream. Maybe I'll do another one of these in the near future. But thank you for watching. Have a great day.